Pooja Ramachandran was my fake name. I really did not have the intention or plan to join cinema. I don't respect based on gender. I'm biased based on gender. I'm daddy's little girl. No, I'm really not. I get, but for me, the perfect balance is really a commercial film in which I have value.
Good evening all. Today with us we have a versatile singer, a composer and a talented actor who has been in the field for 15 years and has done multiple languages like...
Enough. Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, 6 months into 2024 and it's already been exciting.
It's been so quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Year.
Exactly. It's been really quick. And Inimel, how is Inimel? For us as an audience, I feel Inimel is a beautiful song.
Thank
with
you.
Beautiful lyrics, beautifully short, showing the warmth and innocence of love.
Yeah.
But I know, it might be more special to you because it's a father-daughter combo.
Yeah.
And how does it feel? What is Inimel to you?
Actually, because I've been working on independent music for so long and it's always been in English because that has been my language of comfort.
Yeah.
When I have the opportunity to expand and do a single in Tamil, a lot of people don't realize that like all my original music, the last time I did anything original in terms of composition in Tamil was Unnaipol Oruvan, which was way back when.
Okay.
So when I had the opportunity to collaborate with Raaj Kamal Films, first of all to create a sort of visual spectacle, as well as the opportunity once again to work with my father, collaborate with him creatively, it was really a moment that was super exciting and creatively challenging. And so this is something that had started last year itself. I would say around this time last year was the inception of the idea. And then as we kind of developed, then it came to casting for the video and I conceptualized the video. So it's kind of built from there. So finally what happened at the beginning of this year was that, culmination of that coming out. So I was super excited to start.
It's a beautiful song. I've been looping on this for a while now.
Thank you.
Yes. So talking about your acting career, one of the major wow-struck moment for me is your the movie into the Hollywood, your debut into the Hollywood industry. And Indian actors experimenting with Hollywood industry is kind of very rare. So how is it for you with Hollywood industry and how is it different from Indian movie industry? What are your learnings probably?
See, okay, to answer your first part of your questions, there are people since the 70s and 80s paving ways for us in different kinds of films. So for me, the whole approach was that yes, it's another industry, another language, and that is something I'm accustomed to because my big break, so to speak, and audiences accepting me came through Telugu industry first, the Telugu film industry, and I always say that. And that was a language I didn't speak. Today, of course, I do, and I feel very connected to that that culture and that history and that industry. But of course, at the time, I didn't. So it was the same kind of mindset while starting in English film as well. If anything, my most comfortable language is in fact English. So that was interesting. It's an independent English film, which is something I found really exciting. It's a story that is meaningful and it's a female-led team, female producer, female writer, female director, and that was the first time. So there was a lot of firsts involved in that. It was also the first time I was going to Greece. So I just
felt
felt
Greece?
It's just beautiful, and I don't know, Greek people and Indian people have a lot in common, and I think it comes from the heritage of history that we have.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
So talking about the it has also been to the Cannes. How buzzing the Cannes is right now in 2024.
Well, at the Cannes Film Festival, we were actually there to I was there to support my director Daphne Shmon. She runs this amazing program called Breaking Through the Lens, which is particularly to empower and create opportunity for female storitellers.
And you were also part of the
We
gender
were part of the
parity
round
panel.
table. Yes. So that's what we went for.
How is red carpet experience? You're not a red carpet person, right?
Yeah, it's okay. It's too much pressure, and it's what I found super disappointing this time at Cannes, and I'm just going to say it, was there was so much more about the clothes and the shoes, and a lot of people didn't watch the movies. In fact, I didn't get a chance to watch a movie because it was like the schedule was like, do this, do that, meet this, do red carpet, and then come back here, and I was like, but the red carpet leads to a movie, right? So a lot of people it wasn't
Right. There's a lot of misconception that it's a bar, basically. If you've been to Cannes, you have reached a certain level, and a lot of people pay and get into Cannes red carpets. I've heard a lot of influencers.
No, I didn't pay to get on.
No, I mean like the influencers.
Clarify.
Yeah.
No, no, I mean it's fine, but I feel that we must not forget first that it is a film festival where art is celebrated, and for the fashion you have Fashion Week and Met Gala, so you don't mix the two.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we know the Indian movie All We Imagine as Slight has been into Cannes recently, and did you see like the Kani Kusurti, who is an actress, wore a watermelon kind of a bag, which showed a solidarity to the Palestinian people? Do you think like it's a space to voice all these boiling issues? Because
I think as an artist, it depends on, I am not very politically aligned or I don't make those statements, but there are things I care about in the society around me that I do choose any platform to make that statement, be it about mental health or women's rights or menstrual health, and these are topics people don't feel comfortable speaking about, but there isn't a right or a wrong platform to voice this, you know. I mean, certainly some moments you'd be like, chill out, not today, not right now, but I feel especially a red carpet, an event with so many eyes and so much attention, if certain people feel that that is the platform for them to make ideological, political or social statements, so be it. That is absolutely their prerogative.
So you spoke about gender parity. Do you think like even today in Indian media, do you think there's a kind of gender parity kind of a thing which exists even now?
I think we're working towards bridging the gaps, but I think the distance is quite far and wide. But I would say that it's better to have started having these conversations at all. And then
I feel like, you know, I really don't want to term this like male-centric or a female-centric movie, because I feel like it should be mostly human-centric, story-centric. The day we stop saying female-centric, then we've won something. Till the day we're using that, then... But I still think like it's mostly male-dominated, and all these big-budget movies, for say, I'll say the Salah movie, you worked with major actors like Prabhas, it was a great, but you were still there for like 10 minutes. Did you feel like you were just in that movie? How did you feel it?
So when we sign on to films, we have different prerogatives, and I don't crib about this, and I'll tell you why, because a good recipe has many ingredients, and I think people and viewing audiences and what you want to consume as an audience is kind of like that. So I have never had a problem being a part of big ticket films, because that's something I've balanced from the very beginning. And these films work. Who doesn't want to be a part of a story and a film that works? And there are films in which you are there for 3 hours and they don't work, and there are films in which you're there for 10 minutes and more people have watched it and it works for you. So it's really a balancing act. So like for me, I feel that I get an opportunity to do something like The Eye, or I get, you know, but for me the perfect balance is really a commercial film in which I have value. That's something I find exciting.
Have you sort of experienced any disparity off screen or on screen?
In terms of?
Gender. Like probably off screen you will have to be, see, female actors or female actors are expected to behave in a certain way.
Oh no, that went out the window long ago with me. Yeah, so
you haven't experienced?
No, I think we respect seniority, we respect experience. I don't respect based on gender. I'm biased based on gender. I'm always for the sisterhood, and I'm not going to lie for that. But I do believe that you have to understand that there's seniority and there's people who are here way before you and they've paved the way for you, men or women, so that's a neutral. But if I'm expected to be a certain way off screen when I'm not paid for it, I find it extremely difficult to do. Yeah, I can't play to the patriarchy, so to speak. Yes.
So coming back to your singing career.
Yes.
So I just want to ask you, how is both, so you're an actor as well as a singer, how is both the careers kind of complemented each other?
I started out as a musician. I had no intention of joining cinema, but cinema has always been around me, and I'm a fan of cinema first. When it happened, it's two really different parallels that run, and it's two different parts of my mind that are used, and two different parts of my artistic soul that are triggered, so it's very different.
Because recently, when Hindu had done an interview with SP Balasubramanian in 2012, and he had, I quote him, "I can emote very well physically, and my ability to emote with voice is only an extension of that." So he was
interesting.
Yeah. So I was just thinking whether
I feel it's maybe the other way around for me, because when I play music on set, if the director is willing and there's music on set for a scene, it like clues me in much faster than if I'm hearing the lighting department, you know. And I also have these playlists I make for movies and characters. So I channel everything in my life through music first, because it's been a habit. Yeah. So it's probably the other way around.
Would you like to be known as a singer or an actor more?
No, I'd like to be known as a storyteller and entertainer. Yeah.
So since you said as a storyteller, would you like to widen your resume, perhaps into direction or something?
Yeah, maybe in the future.
What would be Shruti Haasan stories look like?
I'm now working on writing first, and I'm going to publish soon, which I'm super excited about. And so that's the exploration. I'm a very lazy writer, so you know, yeah, that's not fun. But definitely storytelling for me through music and through, because for musicians, the musicians I have loved and the people I've seen growing up is that their visual music videos tell stories of their songs and their personality. And so for me, last year releasing Monster Machine was a part of me that no film or no director or no one has given me the opportunity to be that woman, the enraged, unapologetic, tar-filled woman. And I had to write that for myself and perform that for myself, and a lot of women who clearly loved it. So,
it's okay.
So I would probably veer towards the genre of storytelling, be it through music video or poetry or lyrics, which is untapped, which is the part of the feminine psyche and part of relationships and all of the in-betweens that we choose to avoid. Really, I live my life very black and white, but I love the stories that live in grey.
Great. Really love that sentence. One question I really want to ask you is, with all the discussions around nepotism in the Indian movie industry,
Here we go. Yeah.
How do you engage in discourse, being the daughter of Kamal Haasan and Sarika?
I was very aware and sensitive to this way before it became a topic, because I've been around for a bit, so I've been sensitive to that. I'm also very, very grounded and rooted in the home I was brought up in, where my mom would say stuff like, it's not your money. You know, it's just starting with basic things like, it's not your car, you will go in the school bus. It's not your money, so value it. And that is not your achievement. So the things that mattered was grounding myself back into the reality of my successes and failures in a very basic level, and the appreciation for that being as Shruti. And at a very young age, I was very aware that there were people and a general environment in which people cared about my mum or my dad versus me, and that always bothered me as a kid. Maybe because I was a self-centered kid or something. I was like, it's me, talk about me, I'm good in sports. That kind of carried on. Having said that, anyone who tells you that the surname or the familial lineage does not open doors is either delusional or lying, because it does. It 100% does. But staying in the room, earning credibility, building relationships, and having the audience in a real intimate connection over years is something you'll have to do on your own. And if you find people are extremely intelligent, and now with social media, everything is out there. So if you try and plug, if you act like a plug into their lives in any capacity, even me as an audience viewer's capacity, it's very triggering, right? So it is about, for me, my journey has been extremely aware of what my parents have given me genetically and opportunity wise, but I know hand on my heart and people who've interacted with me that I haven't taken the help and I've fought to stay here, and that's my journey and I'm really proud of it.
I wanted to ask you the other question you have already answered, but then how is fame, growing up, fame, maybe in a negative way and a positive way, affected you? I've heard that you've changed your name when you were in school.
Yeah, I had a fake name in school. Yeah.
So how has fame affected you?
Fame is just a thing. and you can do what you want with that thing.
What was your name? Would you like to tell?
Pooja Ramachandran was my fake name.
What is the Ramachandran thing?
I don't know, because of my dentist Ramachandran, I think. So I was like, what is the most opposite of the Haasan vibe? A dentist whose name is Dr. Ramachandran. I will take that surname. So yeah, that was just a fake. And it was really because people would come up to me, relatives of people, and be like, "Appa tiffin kenna saapidvar?" And I'd be like, "Well, I had pongal for breakfast, you know." So I just came up with this thing so I could just be myself. Yeah.
So wrapping it up, I want to ask you, of course, the cliche question. How does it feel to be Kamal Haasan's daughter? I know there's one question.
How does it feel to be your dad's daughter?
It feels proud.
Same.
No, because you said, like, somebody had asked you once, where is your home? Because you've been brought up in Mumbai for a long time, and Chennai, you definitely in Chennai. But then you said, wherever my dad is, that's my home.
Yeah, because I find him, and it's not just because I'm like daddy's little girl. No, I'm really not. But I think his personality is rooting. And he doesn't root just me. He makes a lot of people feel rooted around him. And I think that's definitely a thing. But as coming back to you, when I asked you, what are you proud of? Are you proud of being your dad's daughter? And a good dad will make any daughter feel that way, irrespective of whether he's Kamal Haasan or not.
Correct.
And I think that was his job first, and he's done that beautifully.
That's a very beautiful sentence.
We all remember, Three or Moon for the viral Kolaveri and the sensation it created back then and all that. You were Janani in that film, I remember. And what is your takeaways from that film? When you look back at that film right now, what are your key learnings from it?
Takeaways in what sense?
In terms of shooting experiences, in terms of how it honed you as a performer.
Yeah, I think definitely that was a really pivotal and interesting point in my career, because my start wasn't smooth, it was quite rough, and the expectations were like, I always say my initial bumps were God's blessings, really, because the expectations were so sky high, and I fell flat on my face, in the first Hindi film that I did, and that humbled me and trained me and made me like dragon steel, really, because I was like, if I'm going to stay here, it was not the winning, but it was the learning that was super important. That's something I learned early on. At that point, when I started 3, I was already on Yera Marivu, but I hadn't come out yet. It was just one Hindi and one Telugu film, and both were not well received in terms of me, So I became like that student who had been put in tuition during summer vacations and had to like really ace the exam when it came. And that was a super pivotal point in my life, because I jumped from, my first Tamil film, which was huge at the time, into this really character-based performance, which nobody had offered me, as well as Gabbar Singh in Telugu, which became like my, the hit machine part of things. So I always look at that time with great fondness, because it was the universe conspiring to make many things happen at the same time, and really taught me a lot about being open to experiences and being disciplined at work. I learned my discipline very much during that time.
There's something that, occupies our mind space today, whether you're a celeb or whether you have a professional life, which is social media. What is your response? I mean, recently you had someone ask you to...
What, the South Indian accent?
South Indian accent.
Okay, we all in this room agree that there is no language called a South Indian accent?
Yeah.
That is so strange, like, to me. I'm like, do you mean all the accents below the Vindhya? I was like, what are we talking about? Like, yeah.
So how do you handle it? I mean, as a celeb, you're going to be getting a lot of love, but you're also going to be getting trolls.
See, I think people, like, trolls have always existed, like, in society. And, whether it was your, that mommy in the neighboring thing who was like, yeah, avan, that dress supported to pora, is a type of troll, to now that person has many heads and has a keyboard, right? So, that is always a part of life, and how you choose to take someone's, opinion as anything of value or not to you is totally on you. By nature, I am focused towards, especially in a kind of communicative capacity, I mean, I'm like every other person. When I go home and I sit down, I think of like, did they call me this, or did they say that? Because that's just the human psychology. They would have said, you're looking beautiful, but I don't like your pink t-shirt. And then you're like, I should never wear pink again. That's just like the psychology of people. But on an interactive basis, I love to look at the good in people, really. And I like to see how can we connect with each other. And that just kind of transfers to social media. I think social media allows me the opportunity to put across my narrative in the way that I am comfortable. And I've had the chance to speak and say and share so many things that I wouldn't unless you or he or someone had asked me a question. Now I don't need the question. I can just say who I am and how I want to say it. So I do look at social media as a positive thing in my life. And I also think as far as negativity goes, it's just like block. Yeah, really.
So you've managed to filter out the negative portions.
There is a lot, especially as a woman, and I'd like to say that today, especially about physical objectification and comments which is not about me and not about a celebrity. It happens across the board to all people, and it also happens to men, and it happens to younger people in terms of online bullying, in terms of appearance. So that is a huge issue across the board. So it would not behoove me to say, oh yeah, it's something we face. No, it's everybody's problem, and something ought to be done about it through time.
So is there a, I mean, given your, your talent and your capacity for music, is there a film that you would have liked to have worked on?
It's not been made yet. I feel, at least for my kind of music, a time that I found truly fascinating in India is the late 90s into early 2000s, where rock and roll music, especially out of places like Chennai and Bangalore, and then even Bombay had it's like iconic musicians. That time I got the very tail end of it, when I came out of high school. But it was still very much a part of our culture, because rock and roll meant something. It meant, whether you were singing it in Hindi or Tamil or English, most of us were singing it in English. It meant something. It meant questioning. It meant being proud of being different. And that was such an interesting time, and I'd love to see a story about that time and that culture in India.
And also, what's your, like people who sing have a schedule, they have riyaz, they make sure that, they get their practice in place. They restrict what they eat. There's a lot of things that so what's your sort of jazz?
Sangeet, and I trained for over 6 years with Suresh Vadkarji in Mumbai, and then Manohar Kulkarni ji here, who is no longer with us. And that 6 years was 5 a.m., Mandri Saptak Riyaz in the morning, and an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening every day for 6 years of my life. I then proceeded to go to music school in Los Angeles, where I was doing only singing all day and a new technique of vocal exercises. And so it gave me a very robust sort of schedule to follow. Now I pick and choose, but I get it in 3 times a week without fail. Yeah, and I have a lot of time between waiting for shots, where my vanity van is where you'll hear me do really weird thyroid stretches mixed with, Mandri Saptak exercises.
Did you ever want to do something which wasn't in line with what you're doing now, like medicine? Were you pressured into doing this, or was it?
No. I wanted to be a lawyer because I loved my grandpa, and he was a lawyer. So I was like, I want to do whatever he does. Then I went on a movie set, and I thought my dad is like the most all-powerful, omnipresent. And I saw him deferring to a person on set and listening to somebody else, and I was like, who is that and what is their job? And they said, that's the director. And I was like, great, forget the lawyer thing, I want to be a director. And as I grew and I found music was always a part of my life, but my academic subject of interest was always psychology. I even started to study psychology, but then it's just something I never pursued, because I knew I was going to have a life in entertainment. But it's still a topic of great interest to me. I would have loved to be a child psychologist.
OTT, like when you started out, there was no OTT, there was none of this newfangled, easy. Yeah, absolutely.
Was a thing
Yeah. Why bother? So, but OTT has now become a revolution that some people foresaw and others didn't. And it's really opened up the screens literally to a lot of people.
I have to say it's been an interesting journey in terms of like, yeah, I love OTT because of I've done, you know, an Amazon series and it offered me a chance to play a role and get an audience I wouldn't otherwise. Theatres are theatres and I really vouch for that. I'm also a huge binge watcher and I love, you know, watching series, movies, especially regional and out of our country because it's super important to give that voice. But I also feel just like any other product or part of the business, it starts falling prey to, if you now see there's like, we'll pay X for this movie and so the smaller movies now fall to the wayside because they have a budget that they want to buy a, you know, huge movie for. So again, that you know, that egalitarian element that was there in OTTs is slowly but steadily diminishing for sure, as well as like you have in music labels, but that song of yours was a hit, so let's just stick to doing that. Or this song is a hit, so let's make 5 songs like that. So then the platform then starts dictating creative directions. And that, I think, again, we can see that in OTT. If you just now compare what it was pre-pandemic to then the pandemic becoming the light that's shone on how important OTT is, you know, along with the Zoom calls. Yeah. So it was, I definitely think it's not like the beautiful, perfectly balanced platform for showcasing creativity with freedom that it you know, it seems to be. No.
Very interesting. So, you believe that
I mean, as a viewer yourself, you can clock.
the message is being tailored by the medium itself. Is that what it's come
It
to?
happens everywhere, right? It's inevitable in every single business. Like I said, if a music label hires you tomorrow and you give a hit song in that direction, then it's more artists like you and you being, you know, you caricaturing yourself basically. And that happens even in movies. And then you say, Abhi, like, you know, when I am in Mumbai and they say stuff like, Abhi South ka chal raha, it's like really aggravating. But it is again a trope. So I always say, let's not be like happy about that. Like it's because the stories are working, right? So that dictating of stuff and where equal distribution of money is a problem even there, like it is everywhere else.
Music labels were much more authoritative and dictatorial, and they actually.
Well, what has then broken them down is streaming. And if you remember, there is never a time, okay, there was pirated movies, but music was free for a long time in the middle with Napster and LimeWire. I'm going back in time now. Music was actually just free because versus downloading a whole movie, which seems really like, there was no ick associated with getting a CD which your friend burnt you from ripping 15 songs where they weren't getting publishing and royalty. And mind you, our industry did not have proper publishing, copyright and royalties at all. So I can't compare the two because it was nothing versus something. So what happened is with social media entering, with platforms and basically this great disruptor of free music, Spotify, Apple could only charge you a monthly thing and not a per song thing. Whereas the way labels were functioning was hard copies of CDs, number of CDs sold and then merchandise sold. So they had to succumb to the pressure, they could not. And then when social media became that face of musicians putting out their own stuff, they already created their own fan base. They already created their own platform. All these guys then had to do is distribute it. So they are not in a position to call those shots. But having said that, battle I face, and I know a lot of English language musicians in India faces, we still have a very cold shoulder towards spending any money or anything on an English singing Indian artist. And I get a lot of comments on social media saying, தமிழ்ல ஏன் பாட மாட்டேங்கிற ஹிந்தி नहीं आती है क्या எனக்கு இந்த எல்லா லாங்குவேஜஸும் தெரியும் but I went to an English medium school I studied in English I listened and consumed English music so my most authentic way of writing is English and we don't get the kind of support that is needed in that space and I'm not talking about me we as a collective bunch of independent English musicians don't get the spotlight from media or journalism, the spotlight in terms of labels independently helping to fund a music video because I'm saying budgets are 10 lakhs versus 1 crore for one music video. Do you get what I'm saying? So you have independent English musicians budgeting the 10 lakhs over 5 music videos whereas a Punjabi rap musician or whatever I know is getting 1 crore for a music video and that's great because that is their market. Again, it's that distribution of wealth problem.
You miss something like TikTok, which is banned here. I mean, that's been helped the careers of many artists in the West. But here, I think, is there...
I don't get... I do think TikTok works abroad especially, but if the government has so chosen to feel that it is some sort of... danger to our society, I very much respect that. But I do feel that Indians are still like incredible at putting out and sharing on the existing social media platforms all of their talents and I really love that. I'm sitting doom scrolling so much of the time finding incredible and because of the algorithm if you go down a rabbit hole then it really shows you some amazing stuff.
What do you think about this copyright controversies? Because is the music composer who owns it, or is it the singer, or is it the lyricist? I mean, we know Taylor Swift wanted re-record her old songs so that
The thing is very simple. I would urge all artists. I'm not talking about legends and I have like sorry, bye. You know, I have nothing to say on that because their journeys, their talent, their contribution, it's really difficult to measure even. The way I work with musicians now is I fight for my publishing and I say, no, you did not write this part of the song, I did. Or when somebody does, I'm like, no, you wrote that, we split it down the percentages because sometimes a song has 4 songwriters, okay? Now, coming to the point of a composer, say in film, the problem is it's not about whether it's fair or not. That is the secondary step. The point is what is on the paperwork and was it a work for hire agreement or did you sell the rights to a production house or a label? And that's why it's important and I would say for all musicians to have starting today, to have great legal counsel and a great team supporting you to understand what your value is and not because I've come across musicians who are super greedy with publishing as well. The ultimate aim is to have the music out there and when the music is out there and more people enjoy it and they want to work on iterations of it as we see in the West like a remix of it or quoting it or sampling it, that's a big part of music. So I think all of that kind of gets clarified when we set norms and paperwork legally in place and people have knowledge and understanding of how copyright publishing works and how work for hire works. Yeah, basically.
If there's any single English music artist that you could work with, collaborate with, whatever, who would it be? Or like you could pick 3 if it's hard.
There's a ton of musicians I love, but my heroes I don't want to collaborate with. I'm really scared. So, but there's tons. I'm really open. I love collaborating with people outside of my genre, which is I love unexpected pairings in music, in cinema, in life. I just love things where, oh, I would never think to put these 2 things together. So like a grime artist or something like that, or like a Spanish flamenco musician, or a Sufi singer and me. Like I'm totally open. Yeah.
Couple of lines, any song of your choice.
I could sing Monster Machine. Okay. My baby's a monster, my baby's a beast. I make him come to me at night to give me what I need, what I need. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.